For years, Disco Inferno and Dax Harwood have been involved in a never-ending social media feud. It's been over every topic from ratings to booking practices, but recently, this has taken a turn. During a bout with the Young Bucks, Dax Harwood would do a pile driver off the ladder that would trigger a series of events that have led to his online feud with Disco Inferno reaching its most interesting chapter. The pile driver would result in an injury. Dax recently opened up to let us know just how catastrophic that injury had been.
They don't really care for me too much, and that's okay, but I thought this was the best way that I could talk to the fans of AEW and the fans of FTR and finally get this off of my chest. First of all, before I go any further, I want to apologize to my boss. I want to apologize to the front staff in AEW. I want to apologize probably more than anything. I want to apologize to the medical staff too, because I should have been upfront. I should have been truthful about some things that's been going on with me over the last couple of months, and I didn't because I thought I could tough it out. At the Dynasty pay-per-view in the ladder match with the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, I gave Matt Jackson a pile driver through the ladder, and when I landed, it messed my lower back up really, really bad and caused a severe hematoma that appeared on my lower back, which, as we know, that's where the brunt of the bumps go for a professional wrestler. I thought I could tough through it. I felt that FTR was on a momentum high there, and I wanted to not take myself and Cash off of the road. And after this weekend, after this match with the Blackpool Combat Club, 20-minute draw, incredible match, one of my favorite matches I've had in AEW, I got to the back and I put some ice on my lower back, and the hematoma blew up to the size of a football, at the very least the size of a football. And with that and with the pain, I've debated on whether saying this and whether explaining this, because I don't want anybody to think I'm trying to get sympathy. But the pain has been, at the very, very, very minimum, the pain's been excruciating over the last few months. I haven't wanted to tell anybody because I didn't want, like I said, I didn't want FTR to be taken off of television. I didn't want us to be taken off the road. Maybe selfishly, maybe a little egotistically, I felt that we were an important part to AEW, to Dynamite, and obviously, more importantly, to Collision, which has been our home for the last year. But today I had to get an x-ray on my lower back, on my pelvis, and they had to take a look at this hematoma. And when I finally explained this Saturday to Doc Sampson and the whole medical team, who is incredible, and their only objective is to take care of this talent, when I explained to them what I've been hiding for the last 2 months, Doc Sampson immediately took me off of the road. He said, "You've got to rest it up, and if you don't, it could get worse, and it could lead to possible retirement, and obviously I don't want that." So going forward, I got to be truthful with you guys. I got to be truthful with my bosses. I got to be truthful with the medical staff. And I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know how long we're going to have to be off. But unfortunately, and maybe fortunately for some of you people that don't like FTR, myself and Cash will not be on television for a while. I have to rest this thing up. The nights, the sleepless nights have been catching up with me because I cannot get a comfortable position even in my bed. So you got to think, if I can't get a comfortable position in my bed, imagine the plane rides or the top rope superplexes and all this stupid shit that I do at almost 40 years old. But I hope you know, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that give me some grief for it, but I hope you know all this is for the love of the game, and it's for the love of all you fans. But I hope when we come back, we can come back better than ever. And, my number one priority in this profession is the legacy. Obviously, I know I get flack for it, the legacy of FTR, and I never want that to go away. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you to my work, to my bosses, to everyone who didn't give me any shit for lying to them and taking the steps needed that I wouldn't take to take care of my body. Because without them, I'm sure in the next couple of months, couple of years, I'd be a crippled man. And I can't thank them enough. So Doc Sampson, the whole medical team, even my boss man, Tony Khan, who had no idea about this. And I hope he's okay with this. Thank you guys for everything. And I hope to see everybody soon.
Disco Inferno would take this opportunity on his show to voice his problems with All Elite Wrestling and their safety protocol, resulting in a back and forth on Twitter between the two.
What's really interesting about this whole thing is that Dax and Disco and Conan, they used to be friends. They used to go on each other's shows and talk, and they used to have a relationship, and now it is just broken down to this Twitter feud, this ridiculousness. Now, in all fairness, you know, Disco and Conan did offer for Dax to come on their show. However, with how they're behaving about this, I would be hesitant to do that if I was Dax. Now, I wish that it was a world where Dax could go on and they could have a meaningful discussion about this whole thing. But this is all performance, and I think it's very clear that it is.
So I've been dying to bring this up in discussion ever since I asked Joe. But this is a conversation I think needs to be had, right? And of course, I'm going to go over what happened here because you can just assume what the responses are, right? I've been wanting to talk about, because Wheeler. Remember when I asked you how long Wheeler Yuta was out for, Joe? Remember I said, and it was like 5 months with a concussion, right? Adam Cole was out forever with a concussion. Remember when he came back and they had the balloons in the ring and all that stuff, right? So, you know, the AEW's, the owner, has taken some shots at me before, and since they're the media, you know, kind of like supports him and doesn't really ask the tough questions, stuff and thing, I thought this was a good opportunity to open up this conversation, bring this point up. So I just quote tweeted what Dax said, and I have nothing against Dax. Okay, my point is, what I'm going to talk about here is things that come out of the mouths of people, things that they say that are open for scrutiny, and I want to open up the conversation, challenge what people say. So I tweeted this. You just ruined your boss's narrative that he will put their safety record up against anyone. If talent is working hurt and not telling the office, and it's not a safe work environment. Bad look, Dax. And I wanted to open up this conversation, but so this was Dax's response. I mean, you can only imagine what it's going to be like, right, Conan? All right, so here we go. and so far, based on what you heard there, am I justified?
What is his answer?
Well, I'm going to bring it, but me pointing this out, because Dax is a very well-respected guy in that company. He's been around for a while, and he's hiding injuries from their medical. Okay? And I'm going to give you his response, but I want to open up this conversation. So Dax says, I know this is exactly what you're looking for because you begged for relevancy that you only got by being a punching bag your whole career. But you're an idiot. But he spelled it out, right? If you ever worked hard enough during your little 15-minute of fame career to ever feel any sort of pain, you know the anxiety that comes with injury to an athlete. So while you're trying to turn this into a bit for your podcast, I'm hoping and praying that I don't have to go through an extensive surgery or even worse. For being someone who claims to be so smart to our business, you'd probably know wrestlers have worked hurt for decades. Also, I'm 100% sure some wrestlers in WWE are working hurt right now. But of course, you only decide to attack AEW, anything for the clicks. If anything, this does not go against the safe working environment that my boss promotes. It shows how dumb we as wrestlers are to hide this information from all the proper people put in place to keep us safe. How can this be anyone's fault except mine? No one knew about the severity of my injury, and once I finally told Tony and Doc Sampson, they immediately made me take time off. Maybe one day I can be on your podcast, but only if you do it live and face-to-face. I'll fly myself wherever I need to meet you, open invitation. Anyways, off to an MRI. Well, you'll be talking about this for a segment of your show, hoping the doctors don't find out anything worse about my condition. Good day, Glenn. And I hope he's not hurt either. Okay, so let's just clarify this. Right. This is the point I can imagine by just watching the wrestling product today. All the forearms to the head, all the kicks to the head that people aren't putting their hands up to protect themselves, and guys suffering major concussions, okay, where they're out for months and months, that they have got to be not reporting concussions. Okay, that's not a safe work. If you're going to talk about how safe your work environment is, you can't possibly look at what they're doing on TV and thinking that there's some very clear looking potential head trauma there. Because if you get your bell rung in professional wrestling, we know now that's a concussion.
So yes, Disco and Conan have a point when they say that Dax is in the wrong for hiding the injury. However, I'm sure both of these guys have hit injuries before. Every wrestler has hit an injury. Like, everyone's doing that. That's a problem. You know, we want to encourage wrestlers to come out when they're injured so that the safety protocols can actually be used. Tony Khan can't just know when wrestlers are injured, right? We can have doctors check them out, but doctors can be lied to. A very famous instance of this occurred when Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness were being vetted to join the WWE. They both went through physicals, and one was honest and one was not. One went on to mega fame and stardom and world championships, and the other has got videos about him, you know, on this channel that don't do very well on the YouTube algorithm because nobody knows who he is. You can figure out who was who. And go watch that video, by the way. It's quite good.
Unfortunately, McGuinness's dream of wrestling for the WWE was shattered when he failed a preliminary medical screening due to an old bicep injury, an injury that Nigel's doctor had previously cleared him for, but now would require a costly surgery for him to be able to join the WWE and live out his childhood dreams. Unable to afford the surgery, Nigel was instead signed by TNA in late 2009 under the name Desmond Wolfe.
Nigel told the truth. Nigel told the truth to the doctor, and he didn't get his WWE deal, you know? And it was ridiculous, by the way. So there is a distrust that wrestlers have of the doctor because historically, you know, the wrestling doctor has ruined careers if told the truth all the time. So I don't know what's got to be done about that. I'm not a wrestler. I'm not a doctor. But as an onlooker, as a wrestling journalist, I'm looking at this story, and it just seems a lot of this criticism is out in left field, is bad faith. They're attacking Tony Khan for his safety protocols when the safety protocols would never be activated because the wrestlers aren't divulging the injuries that are happening.
Okay? Now, when Dax brings up this thing like wrestlers have worked hurt for years and stuff and thinking like that, bro, that is such an archaic attitude because, you know, we've learned that is not the way to do it because of CTE and like the major injuries, right? Plus two, trying to bring up back in the day, like if you didn't work, you didn't get paid, you know? But that was back in the territory days when you would do TV and they'd pay you $40 like in Memphis. You get $40 for TV because the TV was like an advertisement for you to go on the road where you make your money on the road drawing houses in the house shows. That's where the money was made. Well, the model is completely different today. Wrestlers are given guaranteed money, and most of the income from wrestling companies and major wrestling companies come from the TV rights fees. The wrestlers are a product, a commodity of the company to be used on their TV product that they're getting paid the rights fees for. And bro, if you guys are hiding injuries in this day and age, that's absolutely asinine and idiotic. You're not losing any money. You're still getting paid. And you guys are still going out there and killing yourselves. And, you know, what percentage of, like in the WWE too, because they do, but not as much as like AEW where they do like high risk stuff that can cause a lot of, you know, injuries and stuff. How many guys do you think are hiding injuries right now and not telling the office where if they probably get hurt again, they could be a major injury? What percentage of wrestlers do you think are probably doing that right now? I'm asking a question.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Maybe 1 out of 15 probably would be a pretty fair bet. I would say
maybe 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10, because we're looking at these forearm spots and the kicks to the head and stuff. You got to be getting your bell rung. If you get your bell rung, you need to go to the doctor. The guy backstage, hey, I got my bell rung out there, and they check you for concussions. And just like the NFL, okay, maybe you got to sit out for a few days, or maybe 2 weeks, or maybe a month or 2 months, right? But if you get your bell rung, you need to go get checked. I guarantee that the fact that a guy like Dax is like getting hurt and not telling them, and he's a guy that should know, right? Bro, this is don't come out here and say how safe your company is when I've done this for 30 years and I'm looking at the products and stuff like, dude, I think a lot of these guys are probably getting hurt if you guys are getting massive concussions and they're out for months. They're probably not reporting concussions. This is like their 4th or 5th one of getting your bell rung, and then all of a sudden you get hit real hard and then you're out for a while, And that's my point that I wanted to make. Now, of course, Dax insults me and all the the same basic insults that all the fans do. So it just doesn't bother me. But I think if he just heard what I just said right there, I'm not, I am kind of like chastising him a little bit. You of all people shouldn't be doing that because you're a veteran in the business. And if a guy like you is doing that, and you're like, and that attitude is permeating through the locker room, is like, hey, we can't tell him that we're hurt because we're on a roll on TV right now. And so, it's like, dude, this isn't the territory days. We've learned the mistakes that we made back in the day with concussions and injuries are the mistakes that shouldn't be made today. And if you guys are trying to use, well, you guys did it back in the day. Yeah, we learned that was not the way to do it. Because guys happened to Benoit, where he probably had so many concussions, you went nuts and wife and kid. Like when we see what CTE can cause, and that's my piece. That's what I wanted to say. And if you want to respond, you go ahead and have the floor here. Did the point I make have merit, or was I just basically, like, was Dax correct, or if Dax probably would hear what I was saying right now, and Dax, you can come to the podcast and come to Las Vegas, Nevada, and come right here to the podcast. I got no issue with you. I've got an issue with your boss talking about how safe your work environment is, and I'm like, really, dude? It's like you can't. I would maybe, I'd like to know what your concussion protocol is. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
I don't think he thinks he's right and you think you're right. So, but first thing I would say is I would invite him on the show because you guys have been going at each other for a long time, and I think people would tune in and see another side of you instead of just sound clips and echo chamber. You're the victim of that, 1,000%. Because you're one of the smarter guys I've ever met in this business. And so that's 1. 2, as you know, Dax worked with me in Mexico. Him and the other guy were very professional. We got along really good. They really worked. They're like, they're the type of guys that want to make sure people get their money's worth. And I will always respect that. Having said that, you got to remember, Disco, when a wrestler is getting a push, he's already over, okay? But most wrestlers, when they're getting a push, bro, they don't want to be taken off TV. They don't want to lose their momentum because when they come back, the heat might be gone. Somebody might have taken your spot. A million things can happen, and we've seen it a million times, So I'll give you an example. There's a guy in our promotion who's super over. His name is Pagano. He's probably our 2nd, 3rd most popular wrestler, but he's really, really over. And this takes the wildest bumps you've ever seen, like Cactus Jack type crazy bumps, and never get hurt. And I'm like, this gelatin. I mean, he never gets hurt. Well, he finally got hurt. His shoulder kept dislocating, and he kept putting it back into socket. And I would see him in the dressing room, the boys putting it in, and him in extreme pain. And I go, bro, you have to get that fixed. And he goes, well, it's already fixed. I go, no, it isn't. I've never met anybody that their shoulder keeps dislocating and it gets better by itself. You have to get surgery. Well, it got to the point where he needed surgery, right? But wrestlers, when they're hot, especially I don't know if he has a guaranteed contract, but these guys do. but you don't want to be taken off the shelf. So it's very hard to tell a wrestler, hey, if you have a concussion, come tell us, because there's a possibility they're taken off TV, you know? So that's a big problem we have in every promotion. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
I can tell you this: when I was getting my push in WCW, when I finally got the big push, which was basically when I joined the NWO. I don't know if you've ever seen, I had this thing that I used to wear around my waist. It was like this black thing. It was like a back brace. Okay. And my back was, and my hip was, and I ended up having to get two, what do you call this? Hip
replacement surgery.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, when I wrestled these, when I did an angle with the FTR in AEW, they hit me with this not power bomb, a power driver that I didn't even know what it looked like. And I ended up fracturing a rib, tearing my labrum, and dislocating my shoulder, and I thought it was a pinched nerve, and I was in the most excruciating pain for a year, dude. And then Ric Flair came to AAA with Andrade, and he chopped out of me, and I took a big bump, boom, and when I landed, I was like, oh my, and I got up and I hit another one, and I was in so much pain, dude. And but I kept going because I wanted to be part of the show. So even me with my experience, you know, I did it. So I can see kind of where he's coming from. Yeah, obviously, you know, that's really what I have to say on the matter.
Right. Because so ultimately, in summation, that this is ultimately my point.
Right.
Say I have a football team and I'm the coach, and
Right.
I'm coming out there in front of everybody in the media and
Right.
saying we have the healthiest team in the league, but I don't know that 4 of my guys aren't telling me how hurt they are.
Right.
Okay. So I'm saying going forward, don't make statements like that. And what I'm saying is also in your company.
But I'll tell you this: when the thing happened,
thing.
I'll give you an example. When the thing happened with Matt Hardy, okay,
Right.
well, you could tell he got, and his wife came out and said they should have taken him off the shelf.
Correct, and that's my point going
Because
forward.
if you don't know, that's one thing. If you do know, that's another.
Because here's one thing I think that they should be doing. I'm watching a lot of these matches, and on TV, and I'm like, I would check that guy after the match. The doctor should say, like, you know how that, like in the football, they have the guy up in the tower monitoring people on the field and say you got to pull him off the field and check him for concussion. They should be doing that. I don't think they do. And I'm saying going forward, if you want to put your safety record up against any other company, implement that as a policy. First and foremost, that you have an independent guy checking people like what you think might be like head trauma or something, and make it mandatory that you have to check them after the match. Then if you say, I will put our safety record up against anybody, I'll say, yeah, that's a real. I don't know any other companies that have that policy. That's a good policy to have. That's all I'm saying. I preach safety and stuff for things, and I see a lot of what the wrestlers are doing today, and like guys are out for 6 months and a year with concussions. I mean, it's like, I can't even imagine that.
But
you know what I'm saying?
bro,
So like,
when you're out there,
right.
you're trying to get a pop.
I'm aware of that,
and
but
you're willing to risk injury or even get injured, because I've done it. I remember when I first started to do hardcore wrestling, when I was in ECW, I loved it. So I brought it to Mexico, and bro, we were selling out everywhere, and I was doing the stupidest shit you could imagine, that there's no way I would do it 10 years later, but you're young, you're dumb, you're not really that hurt. You want to get a pop. You want to hear people going, oh my God, what a great match that was. Did you see what Conan did? Or did you see what, this guy did? You get sucked up into that whole thing.
Correct. But let's look at a very similar genre that's very similar to professional wrestling is the National Football League. Bro, look at what the Tua situation.
Right. I was going to bring that up.
Right.
I swear I was going to bring that up.
The Tua situation is a perfect example because here's the thing. Bro, if Tua gets his bell rung, yank him out of the game.
Right.
Okay, because maybe he's only hurt for a week or two.
Right.
But if he gets another concussion, he's out for the year, your season's done. And you're paying, this is the whole thing with guaranteed money. You're paying the guy to like $15 million a year. and now you're getting nothing from your return of the guy because he's out for the rest of the year because he, you screwed up with the concussions. He wanted to play. They always want to play, like and something. But you have to protect your investment,
right.
And that's
you're absolutely correct.
Right.
And I think that just like they stopped destroying the quarterback when you sacked him,
right,
and all these hits from the defensive team, now they want to outlaw the hip drag tackle, right? And they should do the same thing,
Right.
They should perform protocols and not even a team doctor, because you could get along with a team doctor and he might, the boys, they're workers.
Right.
I'd get an independent guy to come in there, give concussion protocols and all that, and if they don't pass it, you go out. Sorry, dude. That's how it is.
Come back next week. We'll evaluate you again and see. But don't go out there working hurt. If you get your bell ring again, you might be out for like Will or Yuta.
Right.
And I don't know the situation, but I would.
No, you can imagine.
Right.
You've got to imagine Shibata, the way they wrestle, Will Ospreay, like all those guys. They have to have concussions, and they're like, I can work through it. I have before. They don't understand the type of damage that's doing to your brain, and unless you research it, you don't know.
And it's not like you're wrestling for 25, 30 years ago where guys are making a couple $100,000 a year. These guys are getting paid $3, $4, $5 million a year. That's coming out of the pocket of the owner. You'd think the owner would want to be like, hey, I need to protect my investments here because, dude, this is the product. It's a TV product. We're paying everybody guaranteed money. We're getting massive numbers in TV rights. You got to protect your investments.
The most important part is that Dax was invited to come talk to Disco and Conan so that this could be talked about finally.
So I would say that.
You know what, dude? You should like right now in real time go, would like to invite you on our podcast so we can have a civil conversation, whatever, boom, 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 and see what he says.
I'm welcoming Dax to Harwood, however we do it.
Dude,
he wants to come to the podcast.
Put it on the Twitter just like he did. Why are you doing it on the show? He doesn't listen to the show. Put it on the Twitter.
I'll put it on, but I'll do it when we're done.
Yeah, and I'll clip the part of the video where you invite him, and then I'll just post it.
Yeah, do it. Actually, do it when we post this, and I'll tweet. If you want to still discuss, have a discussion, you're more than welcome.
The thing that's not being talked about here is that as soon as Tony Khan and his team finds out that Dax is injured, they're taking him off the road. Dax talked about his injury. I mean, gave up God knows what at the next couple of pay-per-views to deal with this the right way. He is on leave indefinitely. It's being communicated. I have yet to hear the story about AEW covering up an injury like I've heard so many years in the wrestling industry. So many of the stories that we cover on this channel are, I let them know I was hurt, they told me to work anyways. I've yet to hear that about All Elite Wrestling. Until I do, I have a problem bad-mouthing them on the internet. It just doesn't make any sense to me other than it's a very popular thing to do. Hell, most of the videos on this channel would have more views if I would just lean more heavily into shit-talking All Elite Wrestling as my primary mode of communication. Like, that's what sells, guys. Make no mistake. It is very difficult to be a positive-leaning AEW channel in this landscape of YouTube. But we're here doing it, and we're trying to put out more videos. So big thanks to Grapple Vision for helping me put this together. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you go give them a like and a follow as well. The link will be down below. I've got a lot of videos that we've done together over there on their channel. I've done a lot of voiceover. Some of my videos, the Nigel McGuinness video I was talking about is actually over on their channel because it played better over there because I don't know. They don't say nice things about AEW enough, but they help me on this stuff, so I appreciate that. Make sure you let us know you appreciate it as well, too. The biggest show of appreciation you can do is to back the Patreon for just $1 a month. The link is down below. And if you don't have $1 a month and you want to support the channel anyways, the next best thing you can do is subscribe and then watch another video. We got a lot of cool ones on this channel. I just put out an amazing video on Dustin Rhodes that everybody loves. It's like a 40-minute long video and everyone's watching like the whole thing when they see it. But YouTube has buried it. So go check out that video and keep digging.
He is I and I am him, and I'm the undisputed trend, Nat Taven, and this dork behind the camera, some Melvin, told me to say, grave diggers keep on digging. Whatever that means.
I am AEW wrestler and Ring of Honor tag champ Mike Bennett. And remember, grave diggers keep digging, but not the monster truck. Even though my son really likes that monster truck, I kind of like Son of a Digger, and so I'm going off on a tangent about monster trucks because my son really loves monster truck, but we're talking about the YouTube channel, so make sure, grave diggers, keep on digging, baby.
So this Mark doing one happy private party, saying what up to the grave diggers, and you doing your thing, bro.
Alright, like, subscribe, and watch another video, or be cursed. If you're cursed, that means the grave diggers will keep digging your graves. So, you probably want to do it.